Hello, welcome to DNKS Legacy Productions. Thanks for spending some time with us. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is a short video about how we put our systems together and why we do it this way. There'll be some footage in here, not just this footage, but some footage I recorded earlier at one of the churches I put together the system for, and you'll see that the system we use there and the system I use is pretty much the same, and this is just a overview of why I put systems together this way and why I like the workflow and the advantages and disadvantages of the advantages and disadvantages of the things I use, that when they're combined they complement each other and make for a better overall system than using one thing or the other alone. So the things I'm talking about, I'll show you with let's go to camera 4, and this is what I'm talking about. If you look on here, this is a computer and it's running vMix. This is my gaming laptop. It's running vMix. This handles the recording and the streaming of videos. I also use that with a Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini Extreme, and it's in a custom. That's actually the ATEM Mini Extreme, and it's in a custom case that I built for it with the multi-view monitor inside the case. So all I have to do is just plop it open like a laptop. It's a huge laptop, but just plop it open like a laptop and I'm ready to go. Plug in the cameras in the back and it's ready to go. But the main point I want to point out is that camera, if you look on the right here, that camera view is what's showing up in vMix on here. I run the ATEM Mini Pro. The ATEM Mini Extreme has a USB output so that your computer sees it like a webcam, and that's how we run our cameras into vMix. vMix can handle more than one camera through capture cards. If this was a desktop, you can put an external capture card. Blackmagic makes a capture card, which is basically an ATEM that you can put in a computer and have all the control in one computer. But I don't like that because I have found that computers doing the switching, it causes a lot of problems that you can get around, but it's not as reliable as having a dedicated hardware switcher. So I don't use that as much as I don't use that to depend on my it's not as dependable as doing it this way. I've done it with using capture cards through USB, and it works, but once you get past two cameras, even with a very powerful computer, this is a gaming laptop, so it is very powerful enough to handle it, but it's not as reliable. Have less problems when I combine it with the ATEM, and I use that for controlling the cameras. The ATEM also has computer. You can control it through the computer, but it's not as, let me show you here. This is Alright, this is the control. Right now I have it on the sound controls. This is the control for the ATEM. This is the software control, and you can see it has the cameras, program and preview buttons, and the whole 9 yards. It also allows you to put graphics in. You can use for lower thirds and bugs. You can turn them on and off. This is for a mix effect that I do. All kinds of different graphics you can put in here. You can also control the audio. It actually has a pretty good audio mixer in it, but it's not as, for example, the graphics it's not as intuitive. It's not as easy to put graphics up and pull graphics up and down as it is with vMix. vMix gives you more granular control. Like, for example, this overlay here that's running right now, I can turn that off. Let's see. Let's go. I want 1.4. Alright, and then I want to hit fade. Okay. Now I forgot my point. Oh, it's not as easy to control the graphics with the ATEM as it is with vMix. With vMix, I can hit overlay, I think that's overlay 2, and turn this off. I can hit overlay 1 and turn that off. And as you see, with the press of a button, I can turn things on and off. I also use this xKeys controller is controlling my vMix, and this xKeys controller is controlling the camera, the ATEM. It has my picture-in-picture. It controls my picture-in-picture right now. I'm using this one right here, and I can switch it, flip it back and forth to that by pressing the button. I can go to this by pressing a button. So this is my camera controls, and I don't have anything to go there. Overhead camera, similar shot, and then 1 and 4. So I can control the cameras with this. So, but my graphics is done much easier with vMix. Run my overlays, and creating these graphics is much easier in vMix. And you can see I have the rotating graphic on there on the right hand side. I turn that off, keep it on, turn that off. I can keep my graphic rotating, or I have a still. And it's much easier to do my overlays with the press of a button in vMix. You can do the same thing with the, for example, DSK. I can turn it on and off. I can turn that overlay, the channel bug, on and off with the ATEM, but I don't have as many options. I don't have it's just the ATEM and vMix does a lot of the same things, but vMix for me is much easier for controlling my graphic overlays. The ATEM for me is more dependable for controlling my cameras. So I combine them together. With vMix, when I hook up multiple cameras via USB into the computer, I had a tendency to have things, especially when I got to a third camera, and we use 4 cameras at the church. I'm using 3 cameras here. When I got to a third camera, hooking them all up into the computer would just about always cause problems. One of the cameras would freeze up. It really wasn't a problem because it wasn't a problem that was insurmountable, because you just shut that camera down and bring it back up. You switch to a camera that's not frozen, and you shut that camera down and bring it back up, and then you go on until it happens again. You switch. The whole program wouldn't crash, but one of the cameras would always freeze up, and you'd have to find a workaround to get everything working again. With the ATEM, that rarely happens. Every once in a while I have something, but that has to do with a cable going bad or some kind of connection going bad. Once it gets fixed, it's permanent until a cable fails again. So I pretty much don't have problems with my camera connections connecting to the ATEM. Then I run that into vMix, and vMix sees it as one camera. I switch my views and angles. I do this super source like I'm doing now that you're looking at. I do that with the ATEM. You can do it with vMix, but it's easier to do with the ATEM. Not really easier to do, but I have all of my camera controls in the ATEM, because you have to, there's a process you have to go through to set it up. There's a process you have to go through to set it up, and I can't take credit for the process to set it up with this. I watch a YouTuber called Doug Johnson Productions. He gave away the macros that you have to write to make it work in the ATEM. He gave the macros away, and then there's a just macros, which is the software behind running the xKeys. And with his process, it allowed me to program the xKeys much easier than I would have done going through the ATEM, setting it all up myself. It can be done. There's a lot of people out there to tell you how to do it. I find this way was easier, just going and following his video that he gave on setting up just macros with his super source. I forgot what he actually calls them, but actually what it is instead of just cutting, they move together like that. animated, and he has a package of animated super sources, and it just has just about any view you want. It's in there. He has I think over 100 different layouts, and with the Just Macros, you can use the free version of Just Macros and his layouts, and you can cover just about anything you want as far as super source goes with that. But it allows me one-touch access to do the mixing of the cameras. Example, there, one touch. And I'm going back and forth between these so you can see the view where with me touching the buttons is always staying up. Then the other thing that I do, I'm going to go, that's already there, go to camera 4, leaving the Just Macros, I mean not the Just Macros, the super source, but even in my home studio, I run all of my sound into a soundboard, and then that runs, well, here's the 2 microphones, and they run in here, and then the sound runs out of the soundboard into the back of the ATEM Extreme box. And so I get my sound from, there's a microphone here, and then there's a microphone right there, and that's how I get my sound into the box. At the church, we have you'll see on the video, we have a breakout box, and that breakout box actually, let me go back to this. We have a breakout box, and yeah, okay, no, I don't want that. Anyway, and the breakout box is what brings the sound, the sound from the front of the church to the back of the church where we are, and we run all of that over Ethernet cables, grounded Ethernet cables, and that's how we bring the sound from the front of the church where the mics and everything gets plugged in the front, and the sound comes all the way to the back of the church, into our soundboard, into the ATEM, and with the cameras that we use, I use Panasonic cameras. The reason I mentioned the Panasonic cameras is sound and video can get out of sync, and you have to control that with the with a sound delay. Depending on the software you're using for your sound, you can delay the sound because the software processes the sound and video at a slightly different rate unless it's coming through the camera. That's the only way. We used to feed the sound directly into the camera, so then the camera could feed the sound and the picture directly to the software that's streaming, and that effectively took care of any problems with a out of sync, like the old martial arts movies where the lips would be moving and the sound comes later. You can have out of sync problems with that. You can fix it. It's not a huge problem, but it takes some know-how and a little bit of work to fix that problem. Fortunately, with the Panasonic cameras, that we don't have that problem with the ATEM. I've had that problem with we've used OBS in the past, and I've had sync issues, and even with the Panasonic cameras, But once I got the ATEM and started running everything through the ATEM and using vMix, I really haven't had sound sync problems. So that is another reason why I picked the equipment that we use. I pretty much use the ATEMs by Blackmagic, the Panasonic cameras. I stay in the same family. I have different cameras. I have some fairly cheap Panasonic cameras that cost a couple $100. I have some expensive Panasonic cameras that are $1,000 and up. So it's not the price. It has to do with how they process the sound in the video through HDMI, and it actually syncs. What they do is apparently similar to the way the ATEM processes everything, so it stays in sync. I can't explain it. I'm not that technical, but I know that the Panasonics and the ATEMs, for me, work well. I don't have to go through all of the things with adjusting the sync of the sound and the video. So right after this, I'm going to play some stuff from the church, and you'll see that the system is pretty much the same. We use the vMix for our graphics. We use the ATEM to control our cameras, and we use Panasonic cameras. We run the sound through a soundboard from the soundboard into the ATEM, and then we run everything from the ATEM into vMix. There we put on our overlays and graphics and everything else, and then we package that up and stream it out and record it, or in my case, what I'm doing right now, just recording. And that workflow works very well, and it is basically how we do everything. I'm not really giving you a technical explanation of how everything works. I'm just letting you know this is what works best for us, and it works pretty good. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and at the end, give it a thumbs up and a like, and I'll see you next time. Alright, this is just a short. I'm in the church first thing Sunday morning. I just brought everything up. You can hear it's fairly quiet. There's the soundboard. Actually, let's take a closer look. These are our two main soundboards. The soundboard goes to a breakout box, which is up in the front. All of those connections there come from the breakout box that's in the front. It's either from the breakout box or the wireless speakers. You can see them on the table. And I'm not sure if I can get the breakout box, but the breakout box is right there in that same area. It's too far away for me to get a clear picture, but that allows us to run our cables using Cat 6 cables, which are these here. We use 4 Cat 6 cables, and that allows us to have 16 hookups up there. So one cable will carry 4 signals, and it is a grounded and balanced signal, and it comes into see if I can get that's the breakout cable that it comes into up here. And then all of these cables are connected into the box. That's how we get sound. That's how we get sound from the microphones that are all the way up in the front of the church to here. Then we control it with the soundboard. And this small soundboard is for recording for the podcast that we do. This one is another breakout box. It just splits the signal up so that we have a signal going to this box. See the red and black wire here? That goes to this box here, which goes into the ATEM over here, and that's how we get our sound into the system. We used to bring it into the camera, but we found that the Panasonic cameras, sorry about that finger, the Panasonic cameras we don't have to allow for a delay. They sync up pretty well with the video through the ATEM, and then we run the signal from the ATEM through a USB C cable into the computer and into, I don't have it all the way up yet, but into vMix. vMix controls our graphics and all of that stuff. In fact, let me just open vMix. You see all our graphics come up. We have a preset that we save that comes up with all of our stuff loaded, and it automatically takes the picture from the camera, and you'll see, let's see, go to camera 3. You'll see that's the camera that's running right now. The ATEM controls the camera switching. And there's the multi-view so we can see what's up. We have the system set up with a preview and program. The program is in red and the preview is in green. So if you look over here, you see the camera that's in preview is in green, the camera that's in program is in red. And that helps us keep track. It gets us, we get the next shot ready, and then you just hit the auto or cut key, and then it will do the transition. We control our graphics. We control vMix from the ATEM Mini. Let's move that. You can see the picture changes, and we can bring up graphics from there. So everything has a key. We hit record and stream when we're ready to go. SMDP open. Not much. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. And then sound. It was good. The sound in the ATEM can be controlled from here. The cameras can be controlled from here. We also have another multi-view over here. This is basically a backup station for whoever's running the main station. And whoa, that's all that's on there. So and that camera, that video over there is it shows whatever this program feed is going out, so I can keep an eye on it. Alright, that's enough for today. It's just a brief overview of the system. Thanks for watching. Bye. This is where I work.